So let's talk about brutes, because we got the Megaboss War Scroll. So we're going to talk more about brutes, but we're also going to talk about the Megaboss and the Megaboss on Maw-krusha and Zaggrock Anvil Smasher. We're going to talk about sort of... I have a better idea now of what is actually surrounding brutes, and that sort of changes what the brutes are capable of doing. So we're going to kind of talk about that and what is surrounding brutes. But first, thanks to all my patrons. Don't forget, patrons, get a chance to hit me up, kind of whenever, and talk about list building. Like, I'll work with patrons on list building, and for boss patrons and higher, I'll go into TTS, and we can deploy and talk about stuff, right? So, if that sounds interesting to you, you know where to find me. Oof. Okay, so... Oh, my lord. So just to refresh our memory on brutes, for those of us that are kind of just tuning in here for the first time, let's do that. So we got faction, focus, ironjaws. None of those words are spelled correctly, but we find it because, you know what? We Google it pretty much every single day. So brutes have a lot of attacks, and... they have a lot of damage, and their anti-infantry +1 rend is good. But the thing that is kind of popping off... So if we just look at brutes damage, just 5, like just a regular unit of 5 brutes, against a 4-up save, they're dealing almost 8 damage, which is quite significant for only 5 models. Like, don't be deceived, this damage characteristic is quite high, all by itself. And then if they go up against infantry, they're pushing into that 10 damage kind of range. Which is quite good. And then, every time that they get to add an attack characteristic, they're going up by 2.61 damage per 5. And so if this is 10, they're going up by about 5 damage against a 4-up save. And against infantry, it's even higher still, because they're getting that additional rend, right? So, so if we were to do the math... So, against infantry, yeah, like 12. So 5 brutes can sort of take down... 5 brutes are going to take down a lot of, like, weak stuff, right? Like, against a 5-up save, we're, like, 14 damage if we get one more attack. But if we're in a brick of 20 brutes, this damage is just through, like, crazy. It just goes through the roof, right? Because we can just double it, essentially. It's a little bit less than double. Oh, I didn't put the leader bonus into my math. I didn't put the champion bonus into the math, so it's actually slightly higher than this. But the thing with brutes right now is that they're just getting a ton of attacks. They're getting a ton of attacks. So first of all, we have, as ways of giving brutes extra attacks, we have the ironjaws Wa. Okay? So it's +1 attack characteristic of those melee units. So that's 4 attacks each. And then we also have the Grunta, or the ironjaws Brawl, where on an 8-up charge roll, we get to add 1 attack. We're adding 2 attacks now. And then we have this new War Scroll, which I just saw this morning, a Megaboss. This is a Megaboss on foot. And if you read through... Oh, no, sorry. This is a Maw-krusha. We'll talk about him here in a sec. Well, where's my Megaboss on foot? Did I already put him in here? I did. We have a Megaboss on foot, and the Megaboss on foot has 2 abilities, which are interesting. First of all, why don't we actually look at this? So 8, 4, 2, 1, 2. 8, oops. 8, 4, 2, 1, 2. The Megaboss is no longer going to be, like, slapping for huge amounts of damage. We don't have Destroyer anymore. He also doesn't fight on death, so he's much more of a buff piece than he was before, but check him out. So he's got this ability: in your hero phase, get stuck in, lads. Pick a friendly brute unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. Roll the die on a 2-up. Add 1 to the attack characteristic of that target's melee weapons until the start of your next turn. So this is a very easy to get on a 2-up, and it only works for brutes. So I believe this also counts for ragers, and it also counts for Rekkas, because I do believe that they also have the Brutes keywords. Correct me if I'm wrong there, but yeah, they do. The Ragers and the Rekkas. So that's really cool too, right? It's not just going to be like brutes, but those are the ones that I'm kind of thinking about right now because they zone out on objectives. And so that's the thing that's going to make them really strong. They are going to be very, very hard to shift with a 3-up save and 15 wounds for 5 of them, right? They're going to be very, very hard to shift. I don't think they have any other ways of boosting their defense, but they're going to be hard. They're going to be hard to shift. So if you go into them, you know, you're not clearing a unit of 10. You're not clearing 30 wounds on a 3-up save, right? Like, I don't even think brutes are doing that. So it's like you're not taking objectives, and you just need 1 brute left alive to zone things out, right? Like more brutes covers more space, but 1 brute is going to remove a lot of feet from the objectives. Anyway, so brutes have 3 attacks. The Wah gives them an additional 1. The Grunt or the Ironjaws Brawl can give another 1 on a charge. The Megaboss here can give 1 on a 2-up, and then over here, Lead to Brutes. Reaction, you declare a fight ability for this unit. Roll the dice on a 3-up for the rest of the turn. Add 1 of the attack characteristic of melee weapons used by friendly brute units while they're within this unit's combat range. So that's 4. That brings them to 7 attacks. What happens if we plug brute damage in for 7 attacks? War Chanter, brutes. So what do we got? 3. I'm just gonna pop it into my other monitor so I can just see it a little bit more easily. So 4 models, right, are gonna get the first profile, which is, so we're gonna go 7 attacks, 4, 3, 1, 2. Okay, and then the second profile is only 1 model, but it also gets 7 attacks at 4, 3, 2, 3. And then you know what? I'm just gonna also include the infantry bonus in here, because why not? Like, look at these numbers, right? +1 AC versus infantry. This is with 7 attacks. 7 attacks versus infantry. 21 points of damage. Yes. Yeah, I remember how I just said that I forgot that, and then I forgot it immediately again. I'm gonna have to redo my brute stats. But yeah, it is. Not that that's gonna be, I mean, it's 1 more die. Leader bonus attacks. This is 4 brutes. Oh, this is 5 brutes, bud. I think that, as far as I know, they stack without restrictions. The only things that are limited are like to hit, to wound, to save, I think. And those are the only ones that have the 1 restriction. So it's like, and like, okay, let's be a little bit more reasonable. Let's say that, like, you're only taking, let's say it's only 5 extra attacks. Instead of 7, it's only 5 attacks. So this is only +2. This is just a Megaboss, okay? This isn't the Wah, this is just what the Megaboss can do. 5 brutes are dealing 15 damage, 16 damage against a 4-up save. Like, the brutes are almost killing themselves, right? They're 15 wounds on a 3-up save. Here we're hitting 13 wounds on a 3-up save. Like, I remember how I'm saying that they're hard to shift. Well, brutes with a Megaboss kill a unit of brutes. Like a reinforced unit of brutes with a Megaboss kill a unit of brutes. And the thing that's really crazy about the brutes getting more and more dice is the buffs that go with it, right? There's 3 buffs that I'm really, well, there's 4, first of all. Kill a beat. It's like, well, what happens if we up this damage by 1? Like, what if we up the damage by 1? Like, again, this is 5 brutes dealing 23 damage. This is only 5 brutes. Like, we're in that 20 damage. We're taking out gut rippers, right? Like this is only 5 brutes. I feel like I just feel like I'm just repeating myself over and over and over again, right? But it's like, this is just what a Megaboss does. 5 attacks. This is with Kill a Beat. Or what happens if we remove Kill a Beat? What happens if we throw in, what was the other bonus? Crit 2 hits. This is, of course, from Bcalm lads. Wholly within 12. Crit 2 hits. So it's exploding 6s. Right? Exploding to hit of 6, 1 extra attack unmodified. Exploding to hit. I mean, the damage actually goes up a lot less than I thought it was going to. If we turn off exploding. Yeah, but it's still, like, still. I mean, obviously the Violent Fury or the Kill a Beat's going to be the best. And then instead of exploding 6s, what if we had a Zaggrock Anvil Smasher? Right? We get rid of exploding, and then instead we have Mortal Wounds to hit on 6s. Huh. Like, Mortal Wounds on 6s, exploding 6s, and +1 damage all scale incredibly well off of more dice. So, like, and you don't even need it. Oops. You don't even need it. Right? If we get rid of the Mortal Wounds, let's get rid of the Rend. Right? We'll get rid of the Mortal Wounds. This Rend is still 2. Like, even just a 5 squad of brutes, man. With 1 extra attack. Like, it's a lot of damage. 10 damage for 5 brutes with 1 extra attack is crazy. They're gonna be so expensive. Oh, by the way, if they're not super expensive, buy them and play them immediately, and they're before they get nerfed. Like, I have at least 20 brutes on my shelf. So, like, if they're like 140, 150 points for 5, like, my list is gonna be, well, it's gonna be just a ton of brutes. Although I'm gonna main Cruel Boys, right? But it's so much brute. Well, kind of, right? Like, hey, how about I do just like a whole bunch of MSU brutes, like 4 MSU brutes, and I take the buff where they charge or whatever, and then I just throw in a couple war chanters and like 3 war chanters, right? And then like a Megaboss. You won't see them under 200 points. I mean, that's kind of how I'm feeling, right? And that's kind of what I mean. It's like, we'll see how expensive they are compared to other options and see like what an actual list looks like, but they just look redonkulous, right? I'd like to maybe see some visualizations on how far brutes actually will go on the board, what all mobility options there are. 1 unit gets to move 7 and 3d6 charge. Well, the 3d6 charge is like an option. It's the Kill a Beat. And so, like, when I think about like ironjaws lists, it's definitely going to include some big pigs. Oh yeah, right. We're limited to one prayer. Why 3 war chanters? No, you're right. 2 war chanters probably, because Kill a Beat's good, but so is Get 'em Beat. Right. 3d6 charge is strong for slow units. Well, you can the way to think about brutes is that, like, obviously on turn 1 they're probably not going to do all that much in terms of their movement, okay? But so you're going to get to move them once, Mighty Destroy. You're going to get to move them twice and Mighty Destroyer them twice before they get into combat, like at minimum without spending any command points. So they get to move 14 inches before they charge, and the gap between you and your opponent in these battle plans is generally 18 inches. So if your opponent sits at their deployment line and you have a straight line, it's a 4-inch charge by the time you get there. But you do get to, if you're going... Yeah, I mean, like... The Mighty Destroyers, I think, is primarily going to be used on Brutes and Ardboys and Heroes, but I think primarily on Brutes and Ardboys, just because they're slow. The pigs can kind of move, and they're incentivized to run, right? So, and they can all issue commands to themselves, and a lot of them, well, at least one of them has a monstrous rampage that moves them around too, right? So, but the Megaboss, 8 health, 3 up save, he's not dealing a ton of damage anymore. He doesn't have enough attacks, and like 4 up to hit, like only 1 rend. Like, he's not a good buff target. Like, he used to be a lot better. Like throwing Hoarfrost here was really good before, but now it's like he's just gonna hang out with Brutes and give them +1 or +2 attacks. Right, so the idea of like a reinforced block of Brutes with a Megaboss and a War Chanter, like that's a brick. You're gonna have a really hard time with that. You're gonna need something to do it, and then if you also give that unit of Brutes a 6-up ward, it's like, well, that's a lot of wounds. Having 30 wounds with a 6-up ward on a 3-up save is a lot of wounds. So. It's like it's gonna get to attack. Who, the Megaboss can get more damage? Yeah, no, I know, but it just, if you're talking about the Megaboss getting more damage, it doesn't feel like it's gonna be a good use of those buffs. It's only 8 dice, right? Brutes throw 15 dice before anything, and then if you get +1 attacks to Brutes, they go 5 more attacks. This guy gets 1 more attack. Right? So it's like you're just not going to be throwing buffs into the Megaboss. You kind of don't want him to die. Like he's going to be a little bit weird, I feel, because you don't really want him to get him in combat. But let's see, Goonhammer, faction review, Ironjaws. Faction pack overview. Let me just look at Weird Fist. All Ironjaws infantry, which includes the Megaboss. So he can have a 6-up ward, and he doesn't even have to fight. Right? He can stand behind. Like, he can sort of sit in the back, and then he can jump in at the end. Like, the second round that he's in combat, he can jump in. But he's not like a scary thing on his own anymore. Like, he'll hit hard for an infantry hero, but he'll still be an infantry hero. Megaboss on Maw-krusha. So let's run just the base damage of this guy here. 1 model. He's got, well, he can shoot in combat, so we're going to include his shooting profile as well. Right? Because he gets to shoot in combat. 1 model, 8 attacks, 4s and 2s, 1 rend, 2 damage. And we're going to say that he's into infantry, because against infantry he gets +1 rend. So we're just going to say that he's into infantry, because that's probable. If you want a Megaboss that's anti-monster, you take Gordrakk, which might actually be the play, by the way, depending on points. But Gordrakk is actually looking really good now that I've seen the Megaboss. 1 model, 8 attacks, 4s and 2s. 2 rend, 3 damage. So the Megaboss is going to deal like 15 damage all by himself. So he can wipe out like... He can wipe out like infantry blocks. So again, it depends on what you actually want him to do, right? Because if you want him to kill infantry, then... or foot heroes, but Gordrakk is going to be better. I'll do the math. I'm going to wait until I get all of the, like, I'm going to wait till I get all the official stuff until I have it all in one place, and I'm sure that that's it. Like, And then I'm going to sit down one afternoon and I'm going to go through and I'm just going to math hammer all afternoon. I'll probably do it all on stream too. Guess people can watch me over my shoulder and make sure I don't make any mistakes. Ugh, just, it's ridiculous. Battle damaged, whatever. So he loses 3 attacks on the fist and tail, right? So don't let that happen. And once per turn, any charge phase. If this unit charges this phase, pick a visible any unit within 1. This is his rampage. 2-up D3, but if it's infantry, it's double. Right? So it's either going to be 4 or 6 damage to infantry. Yeah, well, I need to wait until... That's why I'm waiting until we see everything, right? On a 2-up... So it's either 4 or 6 mortal wounds. This destructive bulk monstrous rampage is fine. Damage is good. So he'll basically, against a 4-up save, probably deal enough, on average, all by himself with no buffs whatsoever, to clear 20 wounds of infantry. Two up on D3 means 3. Well, on it, it's a D3, so you're rolling a D3. So you're either rolling a 1, a 2, or a 3. And on a 2, it's 4 damage, and on a 3, it's 6 damage. Because you double it against infantry. And so this guy is gearing up to smash into infantry. Right? If you want to kill Usharon, you take Gordrak. If you want to kill zombies, you take the Maw-krusha. You got to think about like how, like what your list is weak to, and what he needs to go into. Right? And then like in the list building phase, because it like, yeah, I don't think we're going to be giving heroic traits. I mean, we could. If you want to take Megabossy, I think it's because you're playing big pigs. I mean, I don't know, maybe not. We'll see. But an eye for Defight, I think, is a better one. Just in general, I don't think Hulking Brute is all that good. Right? It's like, you're going to charge in once. Right? So if there was a hero that could retreat and charge, I would say okay. Weird Fist is going to be a really good one. Ironjaws Brawl is also going to be really good too. Ironjaws Brawl is going to be more towards big pigs, and Weird Fist is going to be more towards infantry. I saw somewhere the 2-up on D3 is bad wording. People understand 2 or more, but it seems it's strictly more than 2. There's no way. Roll a D3. On a 2+, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. If the target is an infantry, double the mortal damage. Well, we don't have Smash and Bash. Smash and Bash? I don't like Smash and Bash. Do you mean the Iron Fist one? Is that what you're talking about, JFK? Yeah, no, I don't think. I think it's a trap. I think it's a trap. Getting +1 to your attacks. This is on a unit that, like, whatever unit this is has to get hit first. The only time I think you take Iron Fist is if you're doing a Ragers spam. If you're doing like lots and lots of Ragers, right? Ragers have strike first on the charge, so you on your turn you jump in, you strike first, and then your Ard boys get +1 to their attacks and they fight next. Right? I think that's the only time you take it. You need strike first, I think, or strike last, but we only have strike first. But otherwise, it's like you're incentivized to make a bad choice. It's like, well, this unit over here only has 3 models left in, and this unit over here has 10 models left in it that I'm attacking, and so I want to attack the unit that has 10 models in it first, right? So it's like, when are you actually going to use this? And you have to kill the unit. So even if you charge in and have strike first, you have to clear that unit. A lot of things have to go right for you to do this, and I just don't think it'll happen. I think you'll play with Iron... Like, play it, right? And let me know. Like, I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that you'll play with Iron Fist, and you'll go every 3 games, you'll get this benefit. But Weird Fist is just a 6 aboard all the time, right? This one's like, well, you know, like 45% of the time I'm going to get +1 attacks, right? So And +1 attack seems good on pretty much everything. But that's not why the Megaboss on Maw-krusha is good. It has this ability, Smash Through. When this unit makes a pylon move, if it charged in the same turn, it can move 2d6 instead of d3. So this thing, and it probably has a 10 move, yeah. So this thing can kind of like get in, like it can sneak around. It has flying, right? It has a huge base, so it's going to be hard for it to jump over things, but it will be able to kind of like anything that involves movement is good. So it's going to be able to sneak around the side and get into the back. What's the subfaction you take for triple pigs, not the pig one? No, you don't take the pig one. The pig one I don't think is good. Gore-gruntas and Maw-gruntas get +1 to their move for each enemy unit that has been destroyed this game. Okay, well, we know that the damage has been reduced, right? This is really good to prevent getting stuck by him. What, the 2d6 pile-in? No, it's good. But +1 move, like, well, on turn 1, it's probably useless. On turn 2, the Grunta Stampede is also probably useless. And then by turn 3, you might have 1 or 2 extra move, but you're stuck in combat. Right? Well, the natural disasters is Ironjaws Brawl. I don't think you want Kragnos, personally. But I think this is the one you take. Because your hack and crew is going to charge every single turn. And the pigs are fast. I mean, you could take it with Kragnos, but I have a feeling that it's going to be better to take a Maw-krusha. But Grunta Stampede, like, you're going to get +1 or +2 move by round 4. Like, no, but you're proccing the charge on, like, 40% of the time. 45% of the time. 42% of the time. Right? Well, but Grunta Stampede, fair, but Grunta Stampede I think is worse. I think it's not going to matter. Like, the extra move isn't going to do anything for you. Not, like, it's just, I don't think it's going to do anything. Iron Fist is probably the worst one. Easily the worst one. And Weird Fist, you're too fast. You're not going to be sitting next to priests and wizards. Right? Okay, and then you get +1 to move. Right? Like, okay, like, sure. Yeah, but the rest of them are probably stuck in. So, and, you know, it's like, I just can't... you have Mighty Destroyers. Well, they're stuck in combat because that's what happens. That's what happens. Your unit, especially if you only have 4 units or 5 units on the table, like, your opponent's gonna get them. They're gonna, you're gonna fight, right? Well, we need to look at the math then. For, like, gougers with full momentum, or I think this is the hack and crew. It's like, I don't think you are, like, one-shotting everything you run into with a single pig. You know? And +1 move, like, I just don't see it. You know, you have Power Through, you have Carve a Path, you have Mighty Destroyers, you have Redeploy, right? I don't see it being... But I mean, obviously with Kragnos, it gets better, right? The Ironjaws Brawl is basically guaranteed with Kragnos. So, obviously Kragnos makes it better. But I think if you take Kragnos, you have 4 units in your list. Right? I think you're probably a 1-drop. But it's only 1 more attack on the 5 damage tusks. Right? It's like if you wanted to use Yeah, but if you wanted to really get value out of throwing more attacks, Brutes and Ardboys are the way to go. Right? I don't know, we'll see. I think we can all agree that Iron Fist is the worst one. But I like the extra move, it's like whatever. I'd rather have more damage 40% of the time, right? Than +1 move when it's like, well, like I could see games going by with Grunta Stampede where you don't get anything. Like you get the move, but it never matters. Right? You just sit there with this extra movement, but you're like close and in combat and power, you know, you're moving around and doing stuff, and it's like, well, that move never came into play. But if you charge 4 times in a game, you're going to get at least one of them be way more damage. So I feel like this one is more likely to actually give you benefits, and this one, I don't know, I'm not, like, we'll have to actually see it on the table. So yeah, the Mega Bosses are here. And they are good. Like, this Mega Boss, I think, is only good if you're running a block of 10 Brutes. You know? But, so, like, you can have a really scary... Like, and let me know what you guys think, too, but right now when I'm thinking about making lists, there's a couple of battle tactics that I'm always sort of keeping in the back of my mind. One is seize the center, and one is take the flanks. Scoring them and denying them. If you put a huge brick of brutes into the middle of the map with support, with either a Megaboss or a War Chanter or both, particularly if there's an objective in the middle of the battlefield, it'll be 9 inches away. And so you'll get to move, if you go first, you'll run. So it'll be 7 plus D6. So you're getting there. And then the caster behind is going to do the same, but it's going to go 4 plus D6. But you only need to get a 2 on the run. So, like, you can sort of seize the center relatively easy with a brick of brutes and have support in the back, and then you can say, like, well, I got my seize the center, and good luck trying to get yours. And then you get to move an additional 3 before your opponent gets to move. So the brutes get to move 10 inches up the board if you go first before your opponent gets to move. And if your opponent gets to move first, well, you're getting to move 14 inches up the board. And then charge. So, yeah. I think it's going to be like... I mean, the Megaboss on Maw-krusha, I think, is a flanker. I think that Gordrak is a centerpiece. Like, he moves up the center of the battlefield. Right? Gordrak is like, where's Usharon? Where's Karazai and Krondys? Where's... Sons of Behemoth, like all the Gargants. Like, that's what the Maw-krusha is looking for. He's looking for monster heroes to just slay, and then he wants to call the Wa and buff everybody in the middle of the battlefield. But I think the Megaboss is a flanker. I think he wants to run around the outside, and he wants to kill infantry, and he wants to hit you and, like, pile into your soft stuff. Like, he is like a threat on the edge of the board. Right? And Gordrak's like, where's your big guy? I want your big guy. So Gordrak, like, hangs back a little bit more, but then goes in and calls the Wa. So I think Strength from Victory is better on the Maw-krusha. And he's gonna threaten the edge, so he's gonna be good at denying Surround and Destroy, or take their flanks. Like, I'm excited. I want to see points. I want to put this on the table. I'm going to play Ironjaws versus Cruel Boys my first, like, 3 games. And then how do we feel about Zaggrock? He has the ability to remove a ward. You can reroll Forge and rolls for this unit while this unit has a Clonk. If you make an unmodified save roll of a 1, remove Clonk. So the first time or two that you do the Forge and roll, Zaggrock gets to do it again. And he's the same as he was before, where it's like you have the Choppa and the Tongs, and you have to pick one or the other. So if you take the Choppa, then you get this ability, right? If you hit with the Ward Smash and Choppa, and there's only 2 attacks on 4s, you remove the ward for the rest of the battle. I think you take the Tongs every time still, for the same reason you did before. You're rolling 2 dice on 4s, like, you have, like, it's got 2 rend, you know, and the wound is to hit, but I just feel like you're just not hitting. Right? When you need this, it's not gonna matter. Okay, and then the Tongs, remember, you get to re-roll this. Pick a visible ironjaws unit wholly within 12. Infantry unit wholly within 12. Make a forge and roll of a d6. Add 1 to the roll. So you need a 3-up and a re-roll. You need a 3-up with a re-roll, and it gives crit mortals. And crit mortals is the best. I think +1 damage is probably better, right? But crit mortals is like a lot of... If you're throwing a lot of dice, it can be really scary. I don't know if it's better. I don't know. Where would you... Like, Zaggrock... If brutes are throwing 5 attacks each, and they have 10 of them, right? Ironjaws have no mortal wound output. Very true. So this is how you get through big saves. We have decent rend, right? But Zaggrock is definitely maybe the only way of doing mortals. So the more dice you throw, the better, right? So brutes are going to be a good choice, but how good is Zaggrock compared to a Megaboss, a Weird Knob, and a War Chanter? Because that's who he's competing with for spots, right? It's not a vacuum. He's competing with, you know, a prayer that has double damage. He's competing with spells that have, you know, like teleport spell, and it's a +1 to cast too, right? Like, I don't know. I'll have to do the math, but the utility of it being mortal wounds, I think, is relevant. Tough one, to be honest. I think it really depends on your meta. If you're playing into a lot of Stormcast Eternals, if you're playing into a lot of like really high saves, then the value of the mortals goes up. It's not just the raw damage, right? Like when we actually do the math, we'll see that against better saves, that this gets through probably more damage. I mean, we can just do a very simple little... I'm not going to do all my stats right now, but... So if we add 1 unit of... Where are my brutes? Everything's about brutes today. They're going to be like 250,000 points each, and no one's going to play them. And then all this thinking was for naught. Okay, cancel. So 4 models at 4-3-2-2, because we'll say, oops. 4 models, 3 attacks. 4-3, we'll say that it's against infantry, 2-2. And then we'll add another profile, 1 model, 3 attacks, 4-3-2-3. 1 model, 4-3-2-3. Okay, so 9.17, and then we also need our leader bonus, because I keep forgetting that. Leader bonus attacks. Okay. And then we're adding in crits on mortals. Oops. Didn't really go up very much at all. Well, it's here, so it's like so it's like 6.56. right? So, like, I don't know, man. It doesn't seem to be adding a ton of damage. But it is mortal wounds. But if we add, like... It's also relatively reliable. I think it's probably... Well, the prayers are pretty reliable. There's not a lot to do. Like, there's no interaction. You just sort of roll your dice, and so on turn 1, you're like, whatever. And then on turn 2, you're like, you know, 2 units are going to get this. Or at least one's going to get this buff, right? I don't know, brutes are looking scary. There's a lot of buffs. Like when I was sitting here looking at the buffs, it's like you have your Zaggrock, right? You have the Bcalm lads, you have the Killabeat. You also have like plus attack characteristic for the Wa. Like there's a lot of buffs. Killabeat's probably going to be the best. And then Bcalm lads, either exploding 6s or... I bet you that these ones are the ones where it's depending on if your opponent has good saves or not is where it's going to matter. I don't know. It's crazy. Like, subscribe. Wow.